Come on in, guys. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about Survivor quitters. Quitters, everyone's favorite players. Since the very first quit in Season 7, Survivor players have quit the game for reasons I'm sure you can guess. Conditions too hard, no food, yada yada yada. But throughout Survivor history, there have been some pretty bizarre reasons why Survivor players left the game on their own terms. All that despite the show only having 13 official quits in its entire 20-year history, if you don't count raising the sail at the edge of extinction or asking to be voted out, which I personally don't. Can you imagine the cognitive dissonance I'd have to endure if I had to classify Sandra as a quitter? Man, my brain couldn't take it. Before we get into some seriously strange reasons people quit the game, it's important to note that it's okay to quit Survivor. If a player is cast who quits, that's on production or casting, not the person who quit, in my opinion. Besides, even though it might be frustrating to watch someone just nonchalantly leave the game we all love, down the line we can appreciate them as the fun little piece of Survivor ephemera that they are. Case in point, this video. All that said, let's dig into the 5 strangest reasons Survivor players voluntarily left the game. At number 5 is Janu from Survivor Palau, who was essentially guided by Jeff at Tribal Council towards an epiphany that she wants to lay down her torch so that Stephanie could continue in the game. Janu's Karor tribe was one of the most dominant in history, beating Oolong down in challenge after challenge until only one player, Stephanie, remained, to be pathetically absorbed by Karor at what otherwise would have been the merge. Nearly everybody was gunning for Steph as the biggest threat in the game, given her story of surviving total tribal decimation would be literally unbeatable at Final Tribal Council. And after a brief detour to vote off Kobe, everyone's on board with taking out Stephanie. It's a done deal. She's going home. But things get weird at Tribal when Jeff goes around asking everyone why they should stay in the game, and Janu doesn't even try to give a good answer.
Janu, why keep you?
No reason they can get rid of me.
Jeff is so visibly agitated, it always cracks me up. The juxtaposition for everyone is clear. Stephanie's literally crying she wants to stay in the game so badly, and Janu could not care less and says as much. All of a sudden, Jeff realizes he can use this opportunity to angle for a promotion to producer, and he begins directing leading questions about quitting towards Janu, essentially guiding her towards quitting to save the biggest underdog in Survivor history. And even when Stephanie's about to get the biggest get-out-of-jail-free card of all time, her ego still gets in the way.
So I would be willing to lay down my torch so that Stephanie can have a chance to stay in the game.
Not just for me. If she wants to lay down her torch and she wants to quit this game, she can do it. But not on my account.
Jeff didn't force Janu to quit or anything, but he really went out of his way to stress that quitting and being asked to be voted out are the same thing, which I think most people would agree is not at all the case. Still, Janu's quit is one of the few to ever be portrayed in a positive light, and she was even rewarded for laying down her torch by being allowed to serve on the jury, a precedent that literally won Fabio the game over Chase 11 seasons later. Janu for game changers. At number 4 is Austin, Survivor's original quitter, who sold off all his clothes in episode 1 and whose body was shutting down due to said lack of clothes. In the first episode of Pearl Island, the castaways are stranded in the clothes on their backs and then sent to a local village to barter for goods that they might need in the game. By his own admission, Austin impulsively sells off all his clothes except his underwear, and then, emboldened by just how far he's gone to help his tribe, pitches a similar arrangement to the Morgan ladies.
But you know, old men are real horny. So maybe sometimes if you don't have money, flash your boobs, give you a quick piece or something like that. I don't mean to be rude, but that could help.
Hilariously, Austin's gone nude for naught because Morgan doesn't even spend all their money at the village. They just take it back to camp with them. And thus begins a series of unfortunate events that lead to Austin's ultimate quit. Sandra takes the tribe's tarp and destroys their shelter roof. He wastes what precious little energy he has playing football with Rhino. He nearly drowns in a reward challenge for a sewing machine, and worst of all, he gets terrorized by a pelican.
I don't like animals. I've been bit by a couple animals, and the next animal that bites me will die.
It all culminates in a day 19 quit from Austin, who's been asking his tribe to vote him out since episode 2. And so, per his wishes, an utterly disgusted Jeff snuffs his torch and basically tells him to get out of his sight. Now, my understanding is that Austin was legitimately sick with numerous staph infections from living in his underwear for 19 days, and it's practically guaranteed that he would have been pulled from the game down the stretch had he lasted longer. But the show goes out of its way to dunk on him literally anytime he is on screen, likely fearing the precedent a sympathetic edit for a quitter might set, which ironically makes him one of the best characters in a season already stacked full of them. Maybe that was OT's plan all along. Quit to ensure you get a big edit. I mean, after all, a quit is such a huge game-breaking moment on any season. It's not like they would just literally remove you from the show entirely, right? At number 3 is Purple Kelly, who, like Austin, quit due to a severe lack of clothing. And while I'm here, we'll also be talking about Nayanka's quit as well, because you seriously cannot talk about Survivor quitters in any way and not talk about Nicaragua's 2-for-1 deal. Let's start with Purple Kelly, a contestant so non-existent in the narrative that the term purple edit was invented just to describe how invisible she was. And we're not talking like run-of-the-mill invisible here. They literally use poorly composed shots just to spite her. And in the rare instance that she was on screen, it's not like she was given the best content.
But it's like, I've been sucking it up for 28 days. I have nothing left to suck.
Because Purple Kelly was so, well, purple, we've got to go behind the scenes to understand why she laid down her torch on day freaking 28, less than 2 weeks from the end of the season. According to numerous insiders and contestants, Purple Kelly was only given her bikini and a dress to wear, a fitting wardrobe choice for a Malibu pool party, but not exactly appropriate for a Nicaraguan rainy season. Literally everyone else on the cast was given other, more weather-appropriate clothes, except for her. Nayanka similarly quits on day 28 because the conditions were really, really wearing her down.
You okay, May? My ass hurt.
At the Final 9 reward challenge, Nayanka and Purple Kelly both signal to Jeff that they're ready to throw in the towel, and he's literally not having any of it. He tells them that he'll give them the day to think about it, and if they still want to quit at Tribal Council that night, then so be it. Because the tribe's running low on supplies and a fire burned their tarp, he also makes an offer to the reward-winning team of Benry, Chase, Holly, and Nayanka, saying that if anyone wants to give up their reward, hint hint Nayanka, they can get their tribe a brand new tarp and enough rice to make it to the end of the game. In one of the most selfish/hilarious things anyone's ever done on this show, Nayanka refuses to give up the reward even though she's dead set on quitting in like 8 hours. And it's not like this reward was a brand new car or even a nice steak dinner. It's a screening of Gulliver's Travels starring Jack Black. Ugh, I'll take the crab juice. At Tribal Council, Nayanka and Purple Kelly quit together, and thanks to the aforementioned Janu precedent, are allowed to serve on the jury, where their 2 final tribal votes for Fabio literally win him the game over Chase Rice, who presumably returned to the pro race car Jackman circuit, never to be seen again. At number 2 is Colton in Survivor Blood vs. Water, who rage quit the game on day 7 at the first sign things weren't going perfectly his way. Colton entered Blood vs. Water hoping to soften his one-world image and rebrand as a calmer, less confrontational, less racist Colton. In a seriously heartfelt moment, Colton opens up and shares his struggles with his tribe about being gay in the Deep South, feeling judged and hated every day by his family and neighbors, and everyone begins to think, hey, maybe last time he was just lashing out due to insecurity, a classic the bullied becomes the bully tale. Wouldn't it be a beautiful redemption story if he truly had changed? Yeah, about that. Colton's game thrives on chaos and dysfunction, and he was part of one of the most functional tribes in history, and he becomes frustrated beyond all reason that his attempts at sowing discord in the tribe are largely met with a resounding thud. He was also upset that he was separated from his fiancée Caleb, who he entered the game assuming he'd play with, but who he was instead playing against. It all comes to a head at a temper tantrum at the second Redemption Island duel, where Colton begins crying out of nowhere, decrying his position in the tribe, his tribe mates, and then he rage quits because manipulating Leaf and Tarzan was a lot easier than manipulating Tyson and Tina. The best part is, no one really cares. It's around now o'clock that you can tell that Jeff must have been overridden in the casting Colton department. He makes his disdain for Colton very, very clear. In fact, Jeff dislikes Colton so much that he rewrites history here, accusing Colton of faking appendicitis his first time to quit, which, come on, there are enough reasons to dislike Colton. We ain't gotta lie about it. Still, I'm not gonna pretend I've never rage quit something. I mean, matching Wi-Fi warriors will test the mettle of any man. But rage quitting Survivor, now that's the most epic rage quit of all time. At number 1 is Lindsay in Survivor Cagayan, who quit the game so she wouldn't beat up Trish. Alrighty, Survivor's seen people quit from the elements, family emergencies, stomach pain, hunger, mental anguish, but quitting so you don't beat someone up is easily the craziest quit reason ever. On the Braun tribe, everything was hunky-dory, emphasis on the hunky, except for an interpersonal conflict between Trish and Lindsay. You see, Trish is Trish, and Lindsay apparently doesn't approve of that.
Malnutritia, or Trisha, aka, she needs to chill out.
Alright, credit where credit is due. That is a 10 out of 10 burn. After the tribe swap, Trish and Lindsay are lucky enough to get swapped together to the new Solana tribe, which consists of 5 Braun tribe mates and 2 Beauty. A rather rough swap draw for LJ and Jeffra. But LJ and Trish have a little connection. A love connection, that is. Once LJ recognizes that he and Trish are both from Boston and she's crushing a bit on him, he turns on that old LJ charm to try and turn an enemy into an ally.
I gotta get out more. I'm like, what's twerking? And now it's real.
I'd like to see Trish twerk.
Still, LJ goes from Horse Whisperer, H-O-R-S-E, to Horse Whisperer, H-O-A-R-S-E, and successfully pulls in Trish, who pulls in Tony to vote off Cliff instead of himself or Jeffra. When they get back to camp later that night, Lindsay goes absolutely ballistic on Trish for this brawny betrayal, who only takes the opportunity to troll her further, as only a girl from Boston could do. Once Lindsay removes herself from the situation, Jeff comes out to talk to her and weirdly uses the kid gloves with her as she quits the game out of fear that she's going to punch Trish's lights out, and all the while, gentle music plays in the background. This quit is oddly depicted almost as Lindsay making the mature decision, although, again, she's pulling herself from the game because she's so annoyed with Trish that she wants to physically assault her, and thus, Lindsay's quit remains the strangest quit of all time. Well, you can't say she shouldn't be on the Braun tribe. Got nothing else for you. Don't rage quit like Colton. Like and subscribe, and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.